Hayley, Kate, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. How are you both today?
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, good.
So, WandaVision, what is everyone's first impression?
I know very little about Wanda and Vision, other than what I've seen in Age of Ultron, Civil War, and Infinity War. So I was pretty open-minded when it came to it. I wasn't really sure of the 1950s style for the first episode, but I did find myself warming to it quite quickly. First and second episodes, I think I found a bit slow, but I think that's possibly because I was just generally a little bit confused as to what was happening and why. But generally, I do like the kind of easy watching sitcom style that they've gone for. And I absolutely love Catherine Hahn's Agnes character. Right from the offset, I was just like, I love her.
Quick little fun fact. She actually voices Doc Ock in Into the Spider-Verse.
She does.
Easter egg.
I get what you're saying there. It's a comment that I've seen online quite a lot about the pace of things. And I think coming at it from your perspective, perhaps, which, you know, is less invested with these characters and with the universe, I can see how those first 2 episodes might be a little bit jarring. But Hayley, you know, you're quite invested in these characters. What were your thoughts of it?
I'm really enjoying it. I knew a little bit what to expect, having read Vision, which this is not based on, but there are shades of it. Creating an idyllic household, you know, 2 kids, housewife, doing the dishes, having a lovely time, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that sort of style is present in WandaVision. But yeah, I love it aesthetically. I think it's quite sinister. So when you say easygoing, I think, oh, it's so sinister what's happening. It's like, you know, like those nuclear towns which they create to blow up. I kind of get that vibe from it.
Knowing what I know now, having seen all of the episodes so far, I totally get that. When I was going straight into the first and second episodes, obviously I didn't have any idea of the overhead sort of plot that was happening. And when I say easy watching sitcoms, I mean, like, you know, you have your Friends, you have what's the other ones?
How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother, Everybody Loves Raymond. That's just like the more recent one.
Full House.
Yeah. But I was really getting, especially in the second episode, I was getting like Bewitched vibes.
Yeah.
You know, the show Bewitched from back in the day.
Definitely.
Even like the theme song at the beginning, I was just like, wow, this screams. Da-da, da-da.
Yeah, I mean, I think the deliberate homage is the first episode was the Dick Van Dyke Show, the second episode was Bewitched.
Oh, was it?
Third episode, I think, might have been the Brady Bunch.
Yes, well, 70s.
The 70s.
Yes,
So they've
yeah.
taken a different era. Yeah, I mean, even things like Vision tripping over the footstool in the first episode is taken directly from the opening credits of the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Oh, okay.
So each episode is based quite deliberately on just sitcoms from that era, but also a specific one. And yeah, Bewitched definitely was the second episode's.
Ah, I didn't know that. But all the way through that, I was just like, yeah, that's Bewitched. I do actually really like the fact that they've done a different era every episode as well, because I think if it had always stayed in the 50s era like the first one, I might have maybe got a little bit bored with it. But yeah, I definitely like it. It kind of made it a bit different, and I really love the fact that not only, I mean, obviously the style changed, but they changed the fashion, they changed the house decor, they even changed their acting style.
Yeah, and even things like the ratio of the camera changes and the style in which they're shot. In that first episode, the whole thing was shot like a traditional 1950s sitcom, apart from when Mr. Hart starts choking and things start to break down, and then it's shot much more traditionally like a film. And I think these are things that even if you don't pick up on, things that you're not necessarily aware of, they create this sense. It's subtextual. It's, you know, it gives you that sense of unease, even if you're not aware of the reasons why. I think it works really well.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that the first episode was shot in front of a live studio audience?
Yeah, actually, I think it was. Maybe not the whole thing, but they did have 3 or 4 rows of people that would watch them film it. And yeah, it actually was called filmed before a live studio audience.
Oh, cool. That's really interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the sitcom genres going ahead, because obviously we are due an 80s, a 90s and a 2000s.
Yeah.
I think there is going to be a deliberate, as Hayley said, Full House reference, which obviously starred the Olsen twins, Elizabeth Olsen's older sisters. Quite a meta reference there. And obviously I'm then things like Modern Family and The Office in the 2000s. And I think that would, again, change the style of the sitcom.
I can't wait to see Paul Bettany just staring straight into the camera, just knowing smile.
What about when it breaks from that sitcom side? What about when we see those glimpses? At the end of the first episode, it's Mr. Hart choking. At the end of the second episode, it's the beekeeper. Kate, what do you make of that?
Well, that's actually what I was going to say a second ago. When you said about the fact that the way it's been shot, it gives you the feeling of uneasiness, even though you might not necessarily know why. I got super excited because I did feel that I was watching it thinking, I don't know what it is that just feels weird. I didn't get that reference, to be fair. Ian did say about changing the aspect of the frame as well, and I didn't even notice it. But when we actually went back to go and look at it again, I started to notice it. I also don't know what happened with the beekeeper. I know he came up through the sewer bit, but other than that, I don't really know.
Well, yeah, I don't think anyone knows what's happened to him yet, but obviously we learn a bit more about that world in episode 4. We get a glimpse of it at the end of episode 3, don't we? Which is where you really notice that change in ratio, because actually they change it in frame.
Yeah.
You zoom out and the frame ratio changes on screen as it goes from Wanda's world into the real world, as it were.
What I loved about episode 4 was the reintroduction of 2 characters that we haven't seen in a while, Darcy and Jimmy Woo. I just like to see them again. It's been a while, especially for Darcy. I mean, she just disappeared. That was Thor 2, I think. That was years ago. So, you're still here. That's great. And I liked the little trick that Agent Woo did, that he got taught by Scott Lang. So, just thought that was lovely.
Yeah. But you think he's been practicing that for 5 years?
Yeah. That's cute.
Finding the card trick. Yeah, I quite like that. Yeah, I like the assembling of a bunch of random, or seemingly random, characters from all these different Marvel films, and then just putting them into this show. And I had my doubts beforehand, but actually it works really well. You know, they're all sort of government officials or scientists. It makes sense that they would be investigating the thing. It makes it seem part of the wider world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it also shows that the team-ups don't have to be the heroes.
Exactly. It doesn't always have to be Robert Downey Jr. coming across to Spider-Man. It can be some of the supporting cast. It makes it seem like more of a cohesive world.